Hello, Nerd Nation. I'm Josh, and I welcome you to the podcast. Grab a cold Evergreen gobble of boo milk and make yourself comfortable here at my House of Nerd. Now, for tonight, we're doing something a little different, a little special. I have actually sitting here in the room with me, Crit and John, and we're going to sit on the couch and we're going to do a commentary of The Matrix Resurrections. And that's what our podcast is going to be tonight, our commentary on this and what we think about it. So feel free to put in the comments what you guys think about it as well. And we're going to put a little timestamp on you. We're starting ours when we say go at 10 seconds on HBO Max.
On the HBO Max version, yeah.
So if you're all ready, let's do it, Crit.
All right. In 3, 2, 1, go.
Now this intro comes in perfectly. It's so good. Also, do you do the hand motions at home too?
Yeah, I totally do the hand motions, especially the waving of my hands. And
our wonderful listeners can't see it, but Josh is like pushing us off the couch with his hand motion.
He's landing the plane.
Isn't that the way you're supposed to do it when you're doing a commentary? Make sure everybody lands correctly.
Because somebody would actually watch the commentary instead of the video.
Right.
Somebody's out there just horrible. So this is where I struggled the most in the whole film was this whole beginning piece.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Ooh, interesting.
Absolutely.
So we get later in the film. I've got my own struggles.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. So we've all seen this, just so everybody knows, at least once. Some of us more than that. But this is the first time we've all seen it together. And I had lots of struggles throughout this.
I mean, that's the same here. But this whole part, I wish they wouldn't have started here. I wish they would have started with Neo. I think that would have been a much cleaner start. And then maybe they could cut this in a little bit later. But this whole thing I struggled with, and we'll come up as soon as we get to that scene that I want to talk about a little bit more of where I really, really struggled. But it didn't, I don't know, it kind of captured me, and the throwback to the original film is...
Well, it's a nostalgia hit. It's supposed to be like, this is, I mean, how long ago was the Matrix released? 20 years ago?
Yeah,
so it's like, this is like, hey, you remember that movie you probably haven't watched in 15 years?
Yeah.
Here's, you remember this, you remember this, you remember this? It's basically what it is. But it is interesting that it does like kind of do an outsider view of it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But, and then, you know, in the greater picture of the film, like we know now what the whole point of this was. Is it's an actual program, like trying to recreate the whole way he was found to find him again, I guess, is what I got. But so it's interesting to see it from
Well, yeah, when we get to the explanation in the movie for what this is, I think we could definitely comment on that.
Okay.
I think one of the things that kind of confused me about this first part is not only that it's recreating the original part of the Matrix. It was a little... The confusing part was where this new girl with the purple hair kind of had her place in this. But just how it all kind of fits into the whole thing. Because it's like a new version, but it's old at the same time.
Is that purple or is that blue? Blue? Purple?
Yes.
Okay, I'm just making sure that I'm not colorblind. Because sometimes I get my colors mixed up. I would be interested to see the choreography of this fight on the original fight.
It's different.
It is. It's really different.
It's not really different.
There's differences, though.
Differences, which is interesting because they actually embrace those differences in the explanation.
One thing that I've noticed on the first watch of this first scene, I know these guys aren't color graded green, but I noticed that it's not as green color graded as like the original Matrix. Like if they were going for a nostalgist type thing.
Well, that's just it. They're not, unlike the theater scene later, they're not playing this back directly, right? It's a recreation, but I think the explanation when we get to it later is, I think, actually makes this interesting. Like it may, I don't know if it'll necessarily make this redeem it for you, but it might make it a little cooler.
Yeah, no, and once we get to it, we can explain it more. And I understand why it's there, and I understand its point. I really struggle with it. I don't know if it needed to be
You mean
placed somewhere
point
else.
Cinematically or point in the narrative?
Cinematically,
Okay.
and a little bit in the narrative. I think the narrative, maybe it could have come after we were first introduced to Neo. I'm not entirely sure, but cinematically, like, I struggled with it a bit. This part's not too bad. Like, I didn't, there wasn't too many WTF moments. Like, oh, this is kind of neat. It's different. It's going to change, and see what's going to go on here.
Well, and the characters are acknowledging that's not what happens.
Yeah. Bugs Bunny.
I thought this was a weird move, by the way. This whole, this guy that turns out to be
the new Morpheus.
The new Morpheus.
Well, he's not just the new Morpheus. That's the important. I think that's the important part. That
he's not just
Morpheus.
What, that he's an agent as well?
No, he's a combination of Morpheus and Smith.
Yeah,
created by Neo.
Yeah, they do explain it a little bit later.
Thomas Anderson. So this whole thing is interesting because it's a looped program that continuously plays, but has slight variations every time it plays. That's why you're seeing it be something different than what actually happened.
Yeah,
because it's basically
training.
Well, no, it's not. Well, yeah, it's training, but it's actually a call for help. That's the part that was interesting. Is that it's Neo calling to the people that are outside the Matrix that he's in the Matrix. Mm-hmm. That's what this loop is for, and I think that's why it has to be here at the beginning.
Yeah,
so I think
I don't feel like they explained that very well.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe when we get to that, I can point it out if I
because I never. That was one of the things that I didn't understand all that well was how this fit into the rest of the movie.
Well, I guess I think of it like a program. So this is a program running inside a Matrix program, right? Mm-hmm. And it's weird. Like, this program is intentionally strange. It would stick out if you're looking at all the programs that are running, right? Like, if you were on a laptop and you're looking at all the programs that are running, and this one program was eating a bunch of CPU cycles and was doing some really strange stuff, and you're like, what is this program? And you go investigate it. Now just expand that out to like billions of programs running, and this program is really strange, but it's strange in such a certain way that people that are looking at the Matrix trying to find him would recognize it because it's specifically from his timeline, but it's different too.
But he doesn't know it's from his timeline. He thinks it's from his game.
Well, no, that's kind of the hard part about this. There's been so many iterations of him dying and coming back in this new Matrix that he basically created this new Morpheus and stuck him in this program.
So this scene here, I think, is the absolute worst in the film.
Really?
It's exposition diarrhea. She's like, this is where I saw Neo, and this is what happened. This is how my life changed, and this is, where did I come from? And she gives her whole backstory. And then he's like, oh yeah, me too. And this is how I started, and this is where I came from. And it's just like this exposition diarrhea without showing much. Like, yeah, they had some flashbacks in there, but not telling us by showing, only by like just word vomit.
Okay,
that's where I struggle with, and that's fair. That to me is the absolute worst scene in the entire film.
I think I have worse scenes in this film than this, but I think I can see where you're coming from with this. I wasn't bugged by it just because it was at the beginning of the movie, and I'm like trying to figure out also what's happening.
Yeah, and for me, it was just it set a tone. It didn't ruin the rest of the movie
because this is where they explain what a modal is. It's a looping program to evolve that's meant to evolve over time.
Yeah, and they can do that, and they can do a little bit of that. But what happens afterwards, where they give like each other their whole backstories, just frustrates me. Like, to me, that's not great filmmaking. Like, you have characters.
I hear you. They again, it's like the other movies they've done since the first Matrix, where they have so many ideas they try to stuff into the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, Cloud Atlas, Jupiter, right?
Ascending.
Jupiter Ascending. it's like there's these ideas that they just want shoved in on top of everything else, and it doesn't necessarily, kind of cohesively work.
Yeah.
It's just big ideas, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
I see where you're coming from, and they only have so much runtime to do it.
Well, and I think,
and I can forgive him. It's not like I'm like inherently angry at them for doing such a what I feel is a crappy job, but it's just like I wanted more of their Speed Racer.
Okay.
What they did in Speed Racer, they did a lot of showing the story through the actual actions of character. I don't know if you've seen Speed Racer recently.
Not recently.
Highly recommend a rewatch of it. I mean,
really?
Oh yeah.
I didn't really like it all that much. I own it, and I really didn't like it all that much.
Oh, I think it's really, really well done, and I think it's one of the Wachowski's better films because of that. And I wish they'd done more maybe Speed Racer stuff. But here's what I'm talking about, where it's like this whole story. Now it's kind of cool. But I'm wondering if they could have shown or talked about this or done this differently somewhere else. Or without the dialogue.
That he's seeing the pattern.
Yeah.
Because, they are showing it.
They are showing it, but it's exactly. It's overlaid on that exposition diarrhea, I guess, is where I'm like, oh.
All right.
But
that's interesting what they did with the mirrors, too.
And it is.
Well, they kind of had to get away from pay phones because hardline phones don't exist anymore. So
it's like we don't do cell phones, or thank goodness.
The idea of using doors they already kind of established previously, so that's kind of cool. Without the
evolution,
without the key maker, it's like, well, okay, but then that if it's 60 years later,
it's technically a different matrix.
Yeah.
I struggle with it. They didn't explain how they can go to different places.
Well, they said it's the same tech, but it's 60 years later. Like 60 years have passed. So you think about technology 60 years previous from now. That's landline phones and cable TV and all sorts of stuff that exists now that don't. So in 60 years, the technology would have moved forward.
True. I just thought that they would give a little bit of an explanation of what happened.
Fair.
It's all. It was just kind of a lot of that kind of stuff I've noticed in this
kind
movie.
of flew.
It's kind of glossed over.
Yeah, it's not important to the plot. That's the thing, is that they're not really concerned with telling you why she currently is carrying around pills like this.
Yeah.
There's no
right.
They're not really concerned with telling you what has actually happened in the 60 years other than the robot wars and other stuff like that. They're not going into, because it's not important to the plot, the story they want to tell. Now, would that be a cool story? Yeah, of course. But that's not important to them to tell.
I'm honestly hoping we get another Animatrix.
Now, this I don't like.
Yeah.
So they're like, the best they could do to show him desyncing is to basically do a filter.
Slow-mo, blurry filter.
Yeah, this is
garbage.
This doesn't. Well, it's just not. It's not very compelling to watch.
He reminds me of a little bit of Mos Def and Hitchhiker's Guide right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely a little bit of Mos Def here.
Well, and that's what I'm saying is this character of Morpheus isn't Lawrence Fishburne's character of Morpheus. It's all the attributes that Neo remembered from him and Smith combined together for this program. This program was built as a cage for him.
See, this is the part that I get. I was like, if someone's coming into this, I know probably someone has seen this movie, the other ones, but if they didn't remember them being able to jump between different locations, it can get confusing to people here. How are they moving from place to place?
Well, if you say that, you got to say that about everything, though, because this entire movie does not explain why the agents move the way they do when they're dodging bullets. None of that's in here. This movie relies on the fact that you watched the previous one. I don't think the person who's never watched The Matrix is going to be able to watch this movie and understand a damn thing.
I want that desktop, kind of, though.
Yeah.
Kind of, a little bit.
Little 2002.
It's elitist.
It's little 2002.
Yeah, it's very elitist.
Where everybody's backdrop and phone and everything had that.
Maybe I better take it off my phone then.
I bet you he's running Arch Linux.
Why do you say that? Is that what it looks
Just
like?
all the customization. Perimeter breach.
So I think the important thing to remember is that what you're seeing now is
The modal.
him plugged into the computer. So everything that's on screen, including his reactions and body, are all also a computer program running in the same, like, parallel to the computer program he's currently working on. Like, they're not layers like in Inception. They're just parallel programmings. He, as a program, is programming something else that's a program. It's not layers of, like, at least in my opinion, it's not layers of, like, reality, right? And that's the part that gets hard to figure out. So if you were sitting on the outside, like in one of the ships or in Zion or something like that, you wouldn't have to go into the Matrix to see the next thing. That program exists at the same level as the program that Neo is currently. The software that Neo is currently.
And if you blink, you miss it. But you saw his reflection in the table there.
Yeah.
Was the face of the guy.
His current face. Yeah, that's the interesting part, is that they've done this over and over and over again.
I understood they kept doing it over and over again, but the explanation when it comes later, why they did it, it was a little... Sometimes, I gotta be honest with you, sometimes I felt like I was watching a Doctor Who episode. Because Doctor Who episodes, they throw you a lot of stuff at you, but then they don't give you time to understand what they just threw at you,
right.
And then they just move on,
right,
and completely get past it. I felt like there was a lot of that in this.
Well, I guess it comes down to, what do you want from the movie? Do you want it to tell you everything and you get it all in one watch, or do you want to be able to watch it multiple times and get new things out of it? Because I don't know if you can do both. You can't do both at the same time.
I'm going to be honest. I want to feel satisfied, and sometimes that kind of stuff is not as satisfying the first watch.
Well, I mean, I'll spoil my reaction. I'm dissatisfied with the movie, but not for that reason. For a totally different reason.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. With dissatisfied with the movie. I'm not.
I think it's got some really cool ideas in it.
Yeah, I feel like there's a good movie in here that editing and some dialogue needed to be added or removed, and some editing tweaked to make it. But I think there's a good movie here, and there's an interesting story here. It's just, it didn't come out right.
And also, like, watching these parts after knowing the ending changes the context of these parts. I remember when I first watched this, I was like, okay, is this real? Are they really recontextualizing the Matrix as a game that Thomas Anderson's character has written? Because at first I wasn't sure, right? Mm-hmm. Like, this whole part here, they play it so straight that you're like, it's kind of plausible that, everything that they basically recontextualized or retconned the Matrix to being the thing that this guy wrote, and they're going to explore it in a different way.
I never thought about it.
I did think about it that way. I mean, outside of, Bug and her interactions with the modal, it's like, trying to figure out how the movie was going to play these scenes.
Yeah. I do like these cuts here.
Do you? Because I was a little like... sometimes I felt like they were playing on nostalgia a little too hard. I understand why they're doing it, though.
Well, it's definitely blunt. It's not subtle.
Yeah, it's...
Like, it'd been more interesting and confidence. Like, I don't know. I'm of two minds on it, right? It's like, if they played it, like, without cutting the old footage in to make the association so unsubtle, it's like, okay,
would you have gotten it?
No, I think you'd get it. I think you'd get it.
Yeah.
I think you'd get it eventually. You'd get when the reveal for Agent Smith.
Yeah.
You'd get the reveal later, and it would be like, he totally did have those mannerisms. You didn't have to do the cuts. But the interesting thing with the cuts is they always cut to Keanu's face, usually right after the cut, and his reaction. So the idea is that this is Keanu's view of it.
Remembering.
And not remembering. Imagining a thing that was in his game.
Mm.
So if you were like me at the first, where I'm kind of like, okay, are they going to play this a little differently? Like the Matrix never really happened, but it is a psychotic break that Thomas Anderson's character had with his reality. Then that kind of makes sense because he's the one remembering it. It's not really for us.
I actually
could go both ways.
No, I actually thought that was one of the more intriguing parts of the movie.
Yeah. That's why I like the beginning of the movie. It's an interesting recontextualization
of that. Hey, is he? Well, is this a break? Is he really having a break? Did we actually see a game earlier? Did we? I mean, I was intrigued by that part of just kind of see. It made me want to know. Okay, where's this going? Right. It's later in the movie where I start having a few issues.
Me too.
This part I felt was like interesting. Like I understand it. I don't know how much of it's real, but
that whole thing about Lana
the trilogy
possibly being forced to do this by Warner Brothers.
Exactly.
So she stuck this. That is, if that's true, that's amazing. If she got this actually made,
if she got this in here, it's just like,
what are you guys referring to?
This is almost a middle finger to the studio because he's talking about how they're going to make him make a fourth in his video game that they said was going to be done, and the trilogy was done, and the story was over, and it's kind of a play back of making another Matrix after the story was supposedly done and everything's dead, and the rumor mills have been going nonstop ever since this was announced that perhaps Warner Brothers was just doing it for nostalgia reasons and almost forcing Lana Wachowski to be a part of it.
Which is possibly why her sister wasn't a part of it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the scuttlebutt. I don't know for sure.
Yeah, and that's the rumor mill.
Yeah.
But if that's true and she got this in the film, that's
amazing.
That's an amazing middle finger.
You're forcing me to do a number 4. So I'm going to put the fact that you're forcing me, insert character, to do number 4 into the movie as a plot point.
Parker pen, yes. Those are the best pens.
So what do you think of Neil Patrick Harris as the...
I actually liked him at the first.
Well, I think it's an interesting range to go from caring and warm to what he becomes later in the film.
Yeah.
We should talk when we get to that part. I really want to talk more about the later part of him and what the tricks that they think they're pulling, but it doesn't feel like they're pulling at the end.
Yeah,
I do appreciate his acting though. I do think he has a good range as an actor.
Oh, I like Neil Patrick Harris,
and I'm so glad he made that leap from TV into movies. Like he crossed that chasm very well.
Thank goodness. Thank you, White Castle. And stuff. Snorting coke off hookers' butts.
So,
and all the How I Met Your Mother stuff.
One thing I do, one thing I'm interested in especially about the scene and stuff like that, is does this feels almost like undercutting psychiatry? Maybe a little bit. Like undercutting psychiatry, undercutting, using pills to deal with.
My wife mentioned something like that.
Yeah.
Where she was. I gotta be careful not to talk to you, but talk to the mic here. But she mentioned something like that, where she's like, it feels like they were hitting on the psychiatry thing, and then they backed away from it, and it kind of, like you said, undercutting is a good word of the psychiatric angle of it, and then just defaulting to the pill instead of exploring that more and really getting in that headspace. So I see where you're coming from, and my wife mentioned kind of the same thing. I didn't see it that way, but I wasn't really vested, I guess. This part's interesting, the throwback to the same loop, kind of that
where every character's playing the same character.
Yeah.
I think this is where they're really, like, my take on this is that this is actually each one of his independent lives. So this is re-looped. So it's not the same Neo through each one of them. Every time we see a new group, it's after he's, been reset by attempting to wake up.
Oh, that's an interesting thought.
Yeah.
It's the same people. It's the same copper tops that are involved, and they're saying the same things or similar things.
Yeah.
She knows the dress is different, everything else like that.
I struggled a little with this, and my wife kind of pointed out something for me here too.
Mm.
I struggle with it because some of these things that people are saying, people don't talk like this.
Well, have you ever been in a marketing meeting with a bunch of salespeople?
Yeah,
I've
heard
heard.
like even then,
Yeah.
like some of these things, people don't talk like this. And she pointed out, well, maybe it's over the top for a reason. Like
I think.
why would anyone think this is actual real life?
Well, no. I think this is interesting because this stuff that they're saying right here is what every YouTuber who came out and started doing film analysis, and especially about the Matrix, almost every single one of these lines, I swear I've heard someone say.
Probably.
Every single one of them is like, oh, it's about the guns. No, it's about, it's a trans story. It's all that's in here. And it's literally like Lana saying, yes, I see this, but also you people are ridiculous kind of thing. Because of the framing of it makes them seem like they're ridiculous for even saying that type of stuff.
That ramen, though.
Like they're over-interpreting.
Really want that ramen.
You don't even know if it's good ramen.
When does ramen close?
It probably tastes like tasty wheat. Or chicken.
Yeah, tasty wheat.
Or chicken.
No. But I appreciate it's the same gym and the same gym equipment.
Yeah, and this whole thing where they keep kind of digging into bullet time as a theme, like right here, I think it feels like that's Lana specifically going, I'm sick of people just talking about bullet time all the time.
Yeah.
Or I have to make something as good as what we made then that we didn't know was good when we made it.
Yeah.
Or maybe
which is one of my beefs towards the end.
Yeah.
With Neil Patrick Harris, that whole thing.
I mean, it's weird because it's like, I think that's why I have a hard time with this movie, is because it's so cynical here at the beginning.
Yeah.
And it's so earnest in the middle, and then it's cynical again at the end. And then it's like at the very end, it's like a little bit of like just too earnest, or earnest. Maybe not too earnest.
Yeah.
Definitely earnest. It's like this, the movie never really sits in one place when it comes to that. And I'm not sure how to feel throughout it, I guess.
I like the guy's mustache.
You would.
Curly. I've tried to do that.
You totally would.
I grew mine out a bit too. I do still have my mustache wax.
All right.
And a little mustache comb. And
That's
back when I styled it more than I do now because I keep it shorter.
What's with developers and hipster aesthetic? A
Yeah,
lot of them.
It's
like
fun. It's fun. Like it's another fandom to get into.
I do think both of these two carry their scenes really well.
Yeah.
Like I'm always interested in like
when they're together.
I'm not bored by any of this.
No.
Yeah.
Carrie Ann Moss does such a phenomenal job.
I mean, I think Keanu does too.
Oh, yeah,
I think the
absolutely.
range in this, what he has to express, is really interesting. I like the delivery. Like I believe him.
Yeah.
Between the John Wicks and the Matrixes, like I really feel like that's where kind of Keanu kind of started to really open up in kind of his range of acting.
Because I didn't really enjoy him in the last Bill and Ted.
I thought he was awful in the last Bill and Ted. You know what? So when they show him a little later unbearded, he looks better in this movie unbearded than he did in Bill and Ted's. He looked poofy in Bill and Ted's, like very poofy.
It's possible he slimmed down for this, beefed up a little bit.
Absolutely, yeah. He just. I don't think he looked good.
He didn't just have that shower scene. We got to see him half naked. So
yeah,
half naked. You saw his shoulders and head.
That's half naked. It's
apparently that's enough for John.
Apparently,
that's from the middle of the top. That's half his body weight, probably.
Probably.
So half naked fits.
Seeing Keanu's got a big head, huh?
Yeah.
Do you not feel like it gets a little old though? The intercutting though, like I love it that him and her are together. I love this scene. I love them talking about each other. Him even like talking about Trinity here,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. And I don't know. For some reason, I get a little tired of the intercutting and the messages and the later in the theater where they're showing the actual movie in the background. I mean. Yeah, we haven't got there yet. I know, but
yeah. Like I said, I think I don't know. The only thing I'll call it is it's just so unsubtle, and maybe that's like I can see how that's annoying. It's like I don't need to see that. I guess the other thing too is that maybe that's for people who really haven't seen it in 20 years. Because I mean, we recently watched this.
Yeah, because I watched The Matrix like 6 months ago, if that.
Well, you watched it earlier because we did it on the podcast.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's when I watched.
That's right.
Yeah, so I mean, all this is relatively fresh for us.
Maybe I should release that podcast with this.
Maybe you should.
We're a little behind on the podcast.
But
I'm gonna have to get you an editor.
So my wife read a lot into her husband's name.
Chad.
It's a Chad.
She read it into the whole incel neckbeard thing, and
which is weird
the
because
neckbeards are pining for her, and
they're married and have kids. That's like the exact opposite of an incel.
Of an actual Chad. No, she married a Chad.
And he's an incel.
And he and well, everyone that's pining for her is an incel. She read so much into that. I'm like, I don't know if I agree with it, but that's interesting. She married a literal Chad.
For some reason, I could see Lana putting that in.
Maybe, yeah.
I mean, because of how unsubtle the rest of it is.
Yeah, it's like
I could totally see them be like, "What's the name of the husband?" And she's just like, "Chad for sure." You know, just because that would just cement the whole. Just by naming him that would just cement the whole thing. It's such an economic use of the thing to add extra things for the audience
to find out and to talk about.
Yeah. What do you think about scenes like this? Okay, so now we're seeing a scene that's similar
Batman
to like the first one again, where he's now in an office, go to the end of the hallway type scenario.
I mean, it's supposed to make you think of the first Matrix for sure.
Yeah, and it's just it feels so heavy-handed.
If that's my point,
and I think
that's my point.
The cynical point you're talking about, where like in the beginning it just feels a little cynical, and
that's a hell of a drip he's got going on.
Yeah, I do. I will admit I loved his outfits.
Yeah,
like they were just cool.
I wish I could pull those off. Yeah,
yeah,
I totally couldn't.
But man, his outfits were boss.
Yeah. You know yeah.
Overall, I think this guy does a really good job in the movie.
Yeah, my biggest complaint is the movie forgets about him.
Oh, yes.
Exactly. He's gone from the movie, basically. I mean, he's there.
He plays a role, like they only take him for what he needed in the plot at the end to get through that stupid ventilation shaft, and then that's about it.
Yeah.
They just forget about him.
Yeah.
Like here, and then it's...
I mean, as soon as Bug takes over, he's consigned to... So this is where he's talking about what they did, why the modal exists.
I love the fact he doesn't take the pill.
Yeah.
The first time. He's like, nope, I'm done.
You'd think though that when he all of a sudden now there's cops everywhere trying to almost like stop him, that he would think that read a little bit more into it. That, this is a real thing.
Yeah, I appreciate the random explosion. It feels like they just let an intern direct that part. It's like, what do you think we need here, intern?
I don't know if I'd go that far.
Explosion?
I think Morpheus threw his grenade shoe.
Probably, yeah.
Did you say grenade shoe?
Yeah.
super.
Their homage to Odd Job.
I do appreciate this scene. I actually really like part of the scene when because this is to me is the real reveal of the Agent Smith.
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah, for sure.
But right here, like I appreciated this.
Kind
of
of
the gun.
Again,
It feels heavy-handed.
Unsubtle, yeah.
Yes, it feels heavy-handed and cynical. And it feels, but this is what I'm talking about. I feel like there's a good movie here. Like there's a really good scene here. It's just not quite.
I don't know, man.
Not quite there.
I keep going back and forth with them. Like, could they have been more subtle with it? Yes. Would it have been a Wachowski Matrix movie if they had? I'm not so sure because the Matrix itself isn't subtle.
No.
It's very obvious with its themes and stuff like that. So I don't know. It's like it could be as subtle as like what's that movie with them driving through the snow? We did a while back.
Oh, the one on Netflix?
Yeah.
I can't remember the name.
Which
of
one?
Crap.
The one we did where they're driving through the snow and it's that one guy's memories.
Snowpiercer.
No.
They drive out to his
way
mom.
more subtle than that.
Way out to his mom's house.
In
in the snowstorm.
Yeah, I can't think of the name either.
It was with what's her name and what's his face. I can't remember.
That helps. Hang on, I'll figure it out. I'm saying is like that's a subtle
Driving Miss Daisy.
No. That's a movie with more subtlety in it. Would this movie be good if it was? I'm thinking of Ending Things.
Yes.
That was the name of the movie. If it had that level of subtlety in it, would it be a Matrix movie? I don't think so. Like I don't think that movie would be better than this.
I find this interesting because I finally got it now that he's being reset.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was I never got that until this scene.
Yeah. And I think that's the point. You're supposed to get it here.
Again, unsubtle though. Like it's
yeah. I don't think as storytellers that the Wachowskis are in any way subtle. That's just not.
Yeah.
It's not who they are. They're loud and
Speed Racer's definitely not subtle.
yeah. They're loud. They're big gesture storytellers. They tell big gestures and they want big ideas. You know, and that's kind of what we like them for. So I can't knock this movie for that part. I think the tonal shifts around the story I'm not on board with, and there's some other minor things that I find problematic. But as far as like just being unsubtle, that's not really what I want I don't want the Wachowskis to turn into that necessarily. And I think Keanu plays anxiety really well. Like I don't really see him in this role very on being that vulnerable.
No. Yeah. I think he does a pretty good job. I appreciate that they kept long hair Keanu for this too.
Mm.
I don't know what it is. I like long haired bearded Keanu. He's just great.
Oh, you are a beard aficionado.
That's true. Now I just got to grow my hair out like KeanuReeves. That's going to take years. And maybe that's the only reason they kept it. He's like, I really don't want to cut my hair, guys. But then later on, they could probably do a wig one or one of those caps on him later on. But at the same time, it's like, I don't want to cut that. It probably took him over 2 years to grow, depending on how fast his hair grows.
Yeah, I mean, he's getting ready for probably another John Wick movie. I mean, that's what they're like, we can't cut this.
It's not quite Henry Cavill's mustache in Justice League.
No.
That they had to Photoshop out.
Terrible. Yeah.
Release the mustache cut.
The mustache cut.
Just imagine Superman.
So now we need a Schneider
Another
cut
cut.
and a mustache cut.
I love that meme ever since the Cats released the butthole cut.
The butthole cut was awesome.
That whole meme was just fantastic.
See, this is the story they wanted to tell, not the backstory and the modal within the Matrix.
It's Trinity and Neo.
It's Trinity and Neo the whole way. It has nothing. The rest of it's just background.
Yep.
And so that's where they want to be the whole movie.
And I appreciate that. I actually.
It just means that other stuff's going to slip.
Yeah.
You know.
I honestly appreciated that direction quite a bit, and so did my wife. I think it's a powerful story, and it's a powerful story that got a little forgotten, maybe, especially the last Matrix, or the second Matrix that kind of was wishy-washy. The last Matrix, obviously, she dies and plays a big role, but I appreciate that they maintained that role through here into this one and made it a Neo and Trinity. It's not just Neo. It's not all about Neo. It is Neo and Trinity, and I better remember that.
I've got a really good overall theory when we get to that again about that whole Neo and Trinity thing.
Where's the wind, by the way? There should be so much more wind at the top of this building.
It's the Matrix. It don't matter.
Yeah.
They forgot to program in the wind. So interestingly, she has a similar backstory to the kid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that was one of the first things I thought of when from the Animatrix.
Yep.
Yeah. And I never understood that I guess I didn't understand it when I watched it, that he doesn't remember any of that.
No, yeah. He doesn't remember each reset. And that's because the analyst has a different viewpoint on the nature of the Matrix than the architect.
Mm-hmm. This is
because I have blue hair. I'm definitely not a bot. And I've got a paperclip necklace. It looks like paperclips, anyways. Are those bobby pins? Or
see, left the modal open. See what someone else to find Morpheus. It's a subconscious effort, not a conscious effort.
Yeah.
That's why the modal's always running.
Yeah, this part I was just like, are you kidding me?
Is pretty blatant.
I was just like, this is the part where I almost shut off the movie. And if it wasn't for the podcast, I might have shut off the movie.
It feels a little demeaning to the audience.
It really does. It's just like,
it does.
Are you freaking kidding me right
now? She's got a carrot on her shirt. I do like the use of doors, though.
Yeah.
It's a better MacGuffin than phones and stuff like that.
Doors and mirrors?
Yeah, doors and mirrors. Because they already kind of established doors and mirrors, and those would still exist in the future. Future from the original Matrix.
Maybe we'll get rid of mirrors, Crit. You never know. Maybe personal appearance is a thing of the past.
Well, then they're no longer using humans then.
That's true.
I did laugh on this scene.
Yeah.
Okay, this is the scene that I was talking about here,
right.
Where they're playing the movie back. This is the part that I've laughed about, but... I mean, I get the idea that they're trying to make him feel comfortable and all that stuff. And
It's like you realize life went to hell right after this. Like, you understand that?
Well, it also it's interesting because it's kind of like they were like, well, what if we were ballsy enough to put our own movie in our movie, and then we're going to address that by saying, this is nostalgia, isn't it? It's good for you. You know, it's going to help you feel comfortable with what's going to happen next. That's to us, the audience. It's not to Neo.
mm-hmm.
Right.
And it's like, yeah, I didn't really need that. Thanks. But no, not really. Again, blatant and just
over the top.
Yeah, just over the top. I'm like, the problem is that I'm no longer in the movie. I'm now thinking about how they made the movie.
Yeah.
And why they chose to put it in there.
Yeah.
And that one of my core problems with the movie is I'm constantly taking out of what's happening to think about how they made it, which isn't what I came to the Matrix movie to think about. Like, I didn't watch the first Matrix movie and think about how they made it. I was just there for the movie. And then afterwards I went, I wonder how they did that.
Mm-hmm.
But I was still in it while I was watching the movie. But this part, I'm just like, okay, they're playing in the background. Yes, I know it was a previous movie. Okay, they made it like no cut scene in a video game looks like that, but whatever. So it's weird and just, I don't know. There's so many parts of this movie that I like, and there's parts of the movie I want to like, but there's this constant.
So everyone sees you as Jacques Cousteau.
Yeah. I mean, by this point, I'm already like, yeah, he's obviously not they're not recontextualizing the previous thing. The Matrix is real in this movie, and it's a whole thing. But I also feel like they lose something here. Like at this scene on, they lose what they had set up previously, it feels like.
Yeah.
Yeah, and see, nothing comes out of this.
Yeah.
Like Morpheus is all of a sudden skeptical and
they forget it.
Yeah, and then it just kind of moves on and never comes back.
Maybe there's cutscenes.
Again, Morpheus just gets dropped from here. He's no longer important to the plot outside of
until that very end. Where like, ventilation. What are we going to do?
And they could have just used something else.
Exactly. We didn't need him.
Yeah.
I just want to open the pill and snort it instead. I was just, all right, if we're going in full throttle.
I don't care that they use the F words in here. I just thought that the places that they did put it were a little weird.
Really?
Yeah. I like that one.
That seemed like an appropriate response to what he was being told.
Yeah. You think?
I think so.
The question is, why does he go to him, though? Why does he see him through the mirror?
So, like here, they're still trying to keep that idea alive that it's a psychotic break. But by this time, I'm not buying it.
Yeah. Because once he starts to pull, like that facial expression with the pulling, like kills it. And I give props to Neil Patrick Harris for acting that way.
I'm glad breaking the glass didn't decapitate him.
I was wondering that the first time.
I thought the same thing. Like Stargazer,
right? Not sure what the rules of this world are, but then, I guess it's okay if that's the case.
Shut the door! Let the grenade just fly through.
All right,
that guy's insensate.
All right, this is the train to Busan moment.
Yeah,
this is the train to Busan moment.
Yeah, Yep, someone watched Train to Busan and went, okay, we're going to do the same thing. Or something similar. What if the Matrix had zombies?
Yeah.
Essentially.
What did you guys think about this swarm thing?
They never had to call it a swarm. They never had to say anything about it. You could have easily figured out the fact they're being taken over without them ever being like, "Oh, it's the swarm." It's like it was the dumbest shit. Sorry.
It's like they have to address like every possible critic in the future. They're trying to address them ahead of time and say, "Look, see, no, we recognize it also." You know. It's like later on when Neil Patrick, when the analyst basically talks about the swarm and how fun it is, it's like it's just the movie makers addressing future critics, you know, and saying, well, people are going to find this weird and strange, so we're not just going to let it sit here. We're actually going to comment in the movie about the strangeness of it. And that's what they constantly do in the movie. And again, it takes me out of the movie.
Yeah.
It's like winking at the camera, fourth wall breaks constantly, but not entertaining. Just kind of, you know, CYA, you know?
Yeah.
And they return to the body horror, which is always nice. I mean, it's not nice, but it's interesting.
Updated body horror.
Yeah. Because I don't remember that thing at the end being that...
dildo-y.
A little bit more safe face hunter or something, but yeah.
Yeah. That was the first thing that came to my head.
A little too floppy.
I was just like, whoa.
I remember it being a little more rigid last time. A little less limp.
Oh, man. Gross.
See, he looks better there than he did in Bill and Ted's.
You just like him covered in KY jelly.
Yeah, that's exactly what I like.
The updated robots. I'm sorry, sentients. Can't call them robots anymore.
I like how they did the whole with the sentient robots. It's like this whole like Star Wars theme type thing is like blue is good, red is bad. Did you notice that?
Yeah. Sort of, except that the two good bots still have red on them.
They do have red, but they're mostly blue.
They have some blue on them, but they don't. They aren't necessarily crazy. Like that's all red.
Well, everything's
yes, the lighting's red
filter,
but there's no blue.
Yeah. But what are these robots doing to me now?
I don't know, but the tail curl was a little suspect.
Oh, I forgot these are the good ones.
Gotta stabilize you for transport.
I guess, okay, that one has, I guess, a blue light.
This wasn't really cool. Like, oh, by the way, they're all still there.
Yeah, it really does undercut the other ones.
Yeah.
The previous Matrix.
It does.
Why? Because they were given originally they were given a choice. People could stay in the Matrix if they wanted to, and people could leave if they wanted to. That was the rule at the end.
Yeah, but
that doesn't mean everybody would want to leave. No, I thought they said it did happen, and it did work for a time, and then things started going to crap again because the machines went to war with themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Keanu, but
I mean, not really.
Yeah, that was actually very strategically covered.
I mean, I'm not not wanting to look at.
I was about to say, like, are you disappointed, Crit? Did you?
That I didn't get to see a 50-year-old white man's butt. No, I'm not disappointed. I just wouldn't be sensitive to it either.
Yeah, and this whole thing kind of frustrated the hell out of me.
Well, it's just a rehash of everything they did previously.
Yeah, it's like put them in the. It just.
I mean, it's the last chance for the Morpheus character to do anything.
Yeah, it really is the last little bit. Yeah, this, like you said, this is the last place where he really does much of anything. And it's an annoying much of anything. Like, I'm going to fight you, and that's supposedly supposed to shock your system into believing the whole thing, even though you just took the red pill again. And I never...
So that was the reveal that he's a mixture of Morpheus and
Agent
Smith.
But yeah, I literally said, "Are you serious?" out loud when we got to this part.
Oh, really?
I was just like, "Are you serious?"
Yeah, just like Keanu.
Yeah, exactly, Keanu. And I wonder how much of that again is Lana like, why the hell are we doing this? Like,
well, I'm not sure. I take it as this is them pointing out the ridiculousness to the audience to get ahead of people going, isn't this ridiculous? And they're like, yeah, we're in on the joke too. And you're like, but that's not entertaining.
Yeah, why are you doing this then?
Yeah.
Like, you have control.
If you don't like it, if you think it's ridiculous, why are you doing it? Yeah.
It's like, you have...
Which I guess goes back to your point about...
and this was like the capoeira.
Okay, I want to point something out here.
Yeah.
I don't think the fighting in this Matrix is as good.
It's not. And
Yeah.
The main reason is I think Keanu can't move the way he used to when he was younger. 20 years ago, he could, I mean, even after having he had a major back injury or something like that, right?
Neck injury.
Neck injury, right. And
That
he
was
was
for
still,
the first Matrix.
yeah, that was for the first one. And you can see in the second and third, because they filmed them together, that he was way more fluid and way better at it. If you notice in this movie, they cut a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't let him do choreography very often. And he very rarely actually throws a kick. Almost everything he does is with his hands and arms in a way that would not stress him very much, probably. And that makes me think that he just maybe wasn't up to it. You know, like this wasn't something he was going to be able to do.
Yeah, I wonder how that's going to play for in John Wick.
And I feel like...
Well, listen, John Wick doesn't do a whole lot of kicking.
No,
either.
that's right. Yeah.
I mean, it's
a lot of
still
gunplay
physical,
stuff, you know?
but it's not this. It's not like what the Morpheus character is doing right now, right? Like it's not throwing stuff. It's not spinning. All that right there is pretty like keep your feet on the ground, you know. And the funny thing, I mean, that's a stunt double probably, you know. The funny thing is that, you know, yeah, at a certain level in martial arts, if your mastery is high enough, you probably don't need to do, you know, you're not supposed to have to move a whole lot to actually defend yourself. But this just doesn't, as a movie, as an entertainment thing, it just doesn't come across as like, you know, he's trying very hard.
I don't feel like, okay, taking him out of the whole equation,
Right.
I don't think the whole movie itself.
Well, notice how they cut every single
Yeah,
time.
I don't feel like it's choreographed very well at all.
Right.
The fight scenes, there is maybe one fight scene in this entire movie that I actually went, cool.
Hmm.
That was pretty awesome.
It'll be interesting when we get to that because I'm not sure which one you're talking about.
It's towards the end.
Yeah, sure. I want you to point it out when we get there.
It's probably when the guys are jumping off the building and falling on their heads. Great fight.
Because there's another one coming up that I was just like, this makes no sense. And the outcast part.
Yeah.
That's yeah.
Oh yeah.
I kind of want to throw up.
Let's talk about when we get there.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, you broke it, and now you're screwed anyways.
I mean, that looks cool.
It looks awesome.
But we never see anything like that again, really.
Sort of. They bring it back.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah, they reincorporate it later.
One more time.
One scene, yeah.
It is interesting that the backs of their necks now
have the extra equipment on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Almost all of them. He's got that, but he's also got that thing in the bottom.
Yeah, I feel like they want that to be part of the resurrection story that they used.
They don't explain it very well.
No, I don't think they're supposed to. Again, it's not important.
Yeah.
At least it doesn't have that friggin' long friggin' needle like in the first movie.
I know, right?
He's like pulling it out of his arm. Oh my god.
I would agree with you that it wouldn't be, these neck things wouldn't be a big deal, but it comes into play later when they're trying to rescue Trinity.
Yeah.
That's why I think they should have spoke a little bit more to it of why is it different.
It is interesting what they choose to be subtle about and what they don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they choose to be subtle about that part. They won't explain it, which is fine. I mean, it's just, do they need to explain it? It's 2 USB ports on the back of his head instead of one.
He's USB 3.0 now.
He's an M1 Mac. He's an M1 Mac.
Basically, he's got 2 ports. Oh, man. That's just the upgraded version.
Yeah.
It's an adapter.
I mean, who knows? He might have other ports in other places we don't know about.
Oh.
Ooh.
We'll let Trinity find those.
It's horrible. Well, this is an R-rated film, so might as well make it an R-rated podcast.
Is it R-rated?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't know that, but at the same time, I don't feel that it's like they took advantage of the R rating at all. Then,
Yeah, I wonder.
The F words and then the
They had more
horror
than
stuff.
one, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the body horror
Yeah.
and the body horror when they're reconstructing them.
Oh, and the end scene with the analyst is pretty
Yeah.
body horror.
Yeah. So they could have maybe skipped by with a PG-13 if they wanted to. I don't think they wanted to though.
Nah, I highly doubt it. Especially after watching Sense8, like I don't think the Wachowskis ever really want to do anything that isn't R.
Yeah. There was peace. And then it all went down again.
I mean, yeah. I mean, that's the thing is that like Neo's the insert character for us. He's saying what we're thinking. This doesn't feel like anything's changed.
Yeah.
They're like, just because you made some robot friends later, does that really mean that their sacrifice was worth it?
It's like the scene from the new Star Wars where he's like, all of it's real. Where Harrison Ford comes out and is like, it's all true. Who apparently has to have a Nintendo's Virtual Boy strapped to his head for...
they actually had a Nintendo like helmet. Like you could, instead of using the Super Scope, you could use the eye piece. It actually looks really similar to that. Actually, where you got it's like that cyborg one eye thing. and then he goes around, and then he's got the
It reminds
microphone.
me of the targeting thing in what's that Nicolas Cage movie, the helicopter one.
Oh, Firebirds.
Firebirds.
If nobody's seen Firebirds out there, go look at our other podcast. It's one of our first ones.
And ours is our first one.
It's what's that?
I think it is our first one.
No, it's not the first one.
It's not the first, but
But it's pretty close.
it's pretty close.
Because the
That's
first
a
one,
wild movie.
the first one wasn't Lethal Weapon. It was
Loaded Weapon.
Loaded Weapon.
Weapon 1.
Yeah, Loaded
Yeah.
Weapon 1.
Okay, I remembered wrong. I thought they were blue, but I think it's because of the coloring of the
Right.
ship.
Also, this robot never plays a role anytime in the future. Like, none of these, like...
Well, if this was a Disney movie, I'd be like, that's there to sell toys, but
Exactly.
it's not. So I don't. Yeah. I mean, maybe it's there to sell figurines to like the hardcore fans. I could see people doing like a people that are into like
Gundam or the Gunpla
or aliens and the xenomorphs.
Yeah.
They have
And
those
this
type of
whole
figurines
tech
and
was
stuff
like
that.
just like okay.
Well, I mean, they're trying to reincorporate the baby face from Revolutions
Yeah.
and that same tech. So they basically said, okay, this is how we can have programs.
It's just a bunch of buckyballs.
Yeah, essentially.
Don't let your kid near this. Too many toddlers have swallowed sentience. Sent them to the hospital. So baby.
I do like that they basically subverted right there the usual trope that a lot of screenwriters seem to use about like, we can't do it, we can't go after her. And then like there has to be like all this other stuff that happens in other scenes to get them to finally come around to it.
Yeah.
And it's like they're just like, no, you're right. It's Trinity. We'll go, we just haven't figured out how to do it yet.
Yeah.
But I'm like, that's it's small, but it's nice.
And this was ripped straight out of Black Panther. We're gonna crash. Yeah, straight out of Black Panther.
I mean, isn't this Wakanda?
I mean, basically.
And the ship, and that's the other thing. Robots can't find this.
Yeah. It's like it's all heavy tech and like, yeah.
And I never figured out why they called it Io.
Because it's blue and Iowa was blue, but how would they know that? I guess I don't know.
Yeah, well,
They just needed a catchy name.
It's not like they don't know about astronomy. Actually, it's one of the biggest problems with the Matrix. Human beings as power doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Like it totally doesn't make any sense.
No.
But that's fine. It doesn't need to
What?
for a movie, but still, it doesn't make any sense.
It's like the fundamental.
There's a fundamental flaw in the entire process.
This whole Niobe storyline just
Okay,
pisses
I was
me
waiting
off.
for it to come up because I have a similar.
She's
feeling.
just an authoritative stoplight for the film. That's all she is.
Yeah, just extra drama.
And it just pisses me off so bad. And I'm sorry, they sucked at aging her out too.
I don't know if I agree with that.
Let's give her a crappy eye. It just does not.
I mean, have you seen old people? They kind of look like that.
Yeah, kind of, I guess, but it just sucks.
Especially
why
if
did
they-
we even need Niobe?
Especially if they spent their whole life fighting robots and sentients and machines and stuff.
Yeah, I just don't know why we needed Niobe.
I kind of feel the same way.
It could have been filled by any authoritative role, like the stoplight position here. Like, yeah, she added some flavor, I guess, especially like we'll get to that scene, but I just never really liked it.
I don't like what they have her doing. Like, I don't like how she explains like a lot of what they're doing there and what's happened.
Well, that's interesting. So like her explanation that she doesn't want this happening. She doesn't want them stirred up because she's trying to protect the last city again, and stirring up the machines to come after him, to basically raid the machine world, is extremely dangerous for the rest of the people that she's in, basically needs to protect. So, I mean, it's a base story level. It's a very basic story level.
Yeah.
But it doesn't seem like it's like totally artificial and out of nowhere. I guess it just comes down to whether or not you sympathize with her viewpoint. Like, is her viewpoint genuine as opposed to just artificial? And her being kind of
evergreen goblet.
Yeah. And her being kind of cold-ish to Neo kind of puts her off.
But
she was
leading
cold
her
to
by the arm later on.
But she was cold to him later in the earlier movies also.
Yeah. She was cold to him, but she said that she didn't believe in the one, but she believed in Neo.
Yeah.
She did come around to Neo in the end.
Well, I mean, that's like saying, essentially he had a Messiah thing wrapped around him, and she was like, he's a guy. I think this guy's going to try to do his best, but I don't believe in the Messiah part.
He's just this guy,
just this guy.
Also, the machines haven't iterated on the Sentinels in 60 years.
Yeah.
That's the other part. I'm like,
well,
what?
John, when you perfect a attack system,
I guess if it's already perfected, they weren't that perfect. They can pick out these massive ships all, or they were susceptible to EMP bolt bursts. Very perfect.
Yeah. It's not like we didn't figure out how to do shielding around electronics. Why wouldn't they?
Right.
But now we're getting a little nitpicky. Like I said, I don't think the story.
It's just this.
I don't think the story cares.
I think we're getting nitpicky because the scene drags.
It does drag a little.
And so we're running out of things to talk about because we've talked about the Niobe thing, and we're going to talk about the more. This part drags like a crap.
I think
strawberry.
The problem with this movie is there's too many areas. There's too many scenes that go on too long that should have been cut down a little bit.
But like this
reminds me of Jupiter Ascending.
Yeah.
And Cloud Atlas.
Yeah.
Like all of this just reminds me of those movies.
I agree.
And not in the best way.
Yeah.
Like in the big idea way, like there's some big ideas they're trying to put into here. It's like this whole setup with the nursery and everything could not have happened, according to them, without the sentient machines joining their side or some of them coming over.
Have a strawberry.
Yeah. When I was watching this with a friend, he was like, Is that the Oracle? And I was like, no, that's the Oracle. Shout out to Eric.
Oh, you saw it?
Yeah.
All right, Bucky Balls. I'll try it.
The only thing with this scene that I was just like, hey, that's pretty cool. The other lady that she introduced, that's Thelma Hopkins. She used to be on a lot of shows like 227 and Give Me a Break. Back, I know. I'm pulling up my
that's some old stuff.
Nerd stuff.
Well, I'm glad they actually got an actual old person instead of just aging up another character.
Yeah. I mean, she's been acting.
They used all the budget on Naomi.
She was also in, okay, I can't think of the name of the other show.
That's a really long neck. I wonder if it's just because he's nude in Buckyballs. Like the death masks are just weird.
Well, and also I wonder how long ago this was.
What do you mean?
Well, they have this, like everybody's coming in and lighting candles, I guess, because those candles can't last forever. So how long ago are people still lighting candles at this memorial constantly?
I don't know. According to Disney's Encanto, a candle can last like 50 years.
Oh, jeez.
All right. I didn't know we were playing by those rules in this movie.
The Encanto rules.
I don't know what
Okay.
rules we're playing by half the time in this film. That's one of the problems. Like, what rules?
Currently, we're going
It's
by
like Morpheus
Encanto
is
now.
Where's the song? When are they going to burst into song? Where's this Matrix musical?
I know they felt like they probably need to like do a callback, and everybody's going to be like, "What happened to Zion?" and
What
all
happened
this
to
stuff.
Morpheus?
I was kind of curious.
I was
I know
curious.
I was
I just
too,
wish
but-
they would have done it. Again, this is I don't know, exposition heavy. And
Well, it's interesting what we're sensitive to and what we're not sensitive to when it comes to when they choose to explain stuff.
yeah.
It's like they won't explain the extra port on the back of his neck. They won't explain other things that we've complained about previously, but they will explain this. So for some reason, this was important to the story they wanted to tell. They wanted to at least tell us what happened to Zion and Morpheus.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
Zion became a retirement community and everyone moved out. And then she's like, nope, sorry, screw you, I'm locking you in.
Well, I mean, is
I
she
can
wrong?
understand her. Like, I
Yeah.
don't want to endanger the city and I don't want to do this. And it's just like,
I mean, it is artificial dramas, it feels like, to a degree, because it's like she's
Again,
just deciding that this.
authoritative stoplight.
Yeah.
Especially at the end when they do the whole volunteering.
I think what
it's just like,
I think I now get why this rubs me a little wrong. And that's because it's so trivial for them to solve this artificial problem that's just been put in front of him.
exactly.
He's now incarcerated. Well, actually, he's not. They're just going to pick him up in a ship and fly away.
Yeah, because they gave him a room with a freaking balcony.
Well, I mean, and they should. He's Neo. As far as they know, he is Jesus. But, I mean, they're not going to lock him up in a cell somewhere, but at the same time, it's like, for the story, this really is... she may be a stoplight, but she's more like a stop sign, and there's nobody else there, and we just roll through it.
Yeah.
Because this is
Stop
almost...
sign next to a school zone.
Yeah, this is almost meaningless in the way that the story continues from here. Like, if this was more central to the plot and theme.
Well, and then it feels like they're gonna lock him in this, like, they're in the caverns.
Yeah.
And it's like they're really gonna lock him down. Like, what's gonna happen? And he gets in there, and it's like this freaking penthouse.
And
It's
then,
like,
like all
what?
this bonding that he's doing with,
This guy never matters.
Yeah, I mean,
A
he's
lot
just
of the
player.
characters,
Never
that's the problem, is a lot
yeah.
of the characters that we've been introduced to don't matter. They don't go into in depth of who they are.
Yeah, if you want this many characters, you kind of have to have either simpler characters, I guess. Maybe, I don't know, but that's not necessarily true. But like, you need a series, a TV series, and not a movie.
Yeah.
You know what? I bet you there's a cut of this that's like 3 or 4 or 5 hours long.
No, I wouldn't doubt that at all. And then Morpheus can just pop up anywhere
Yeah, it's
with the buckyballs.
They really are buckyballs. That's all they are.
like here. Yeah, Morpheus is back in the thing, but he's not really doing anything. Like, he didn't even need to show up. The ship's going to show up regardless.
Yeah.
And there it is.
So essentially, he's Indiana Jones.
A cool shot. Wow, that'd be a great screensaver.
Oh yeah.
And he just turns around and walks back in. End of the movie.
Yeah.
Roll credits.
No. I must trust the general.
And then she doesn't really do anything. Family Matters. That's the other show she was in with Reginald Val Johnson.
I mean, maybe it's a commentary on older people not liking change.
Maybe.
But
this whole movie's about boomers and.
Well, okay. It's basically a pro Scientology movie because it's like anti-psychiatry and.
Yeah, gosh. Something about taxes in here soon. Also, that one girl has a very interesting outfit, but it just doesn't look very comfortable to wear. Like the weird string around the neck, like I just feel that seems like it feels super uncomfortable to wear.
Fashion is always uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's true. Then you got Bug Ears, like I'm just gonna wear a cardigan and call it good. Like this is my sweater.
She gets to have blue hair, so
in the Matrix,
exactly,
but not out here.
She doesn't have to
Like
flex.
blue dye doesn't exist, but strawberries do.
Not quite as iconic as the ringing phone scene in the camera spinning around the room.
Yeah, that was such a good scene.
It's one of the best scenes ever.
Just a little bit of slow-mo and people walking into the scene. Like they just came out of a Hot Topic.
Those glasses seal it.
Oh, here comes the scene.
Yeah.
I hate what they did to
I absolutely just tested.
He is useless.
I was like, are you... This was another scene where I literally out loud was like, are you freaking kidding me? My wife looks at me like...
Yeah.
I complained to my wife.
She didn't even know who it was. She couldn't even remember.
One of the most interesting, fun characters in the
From
previous... And he
Matrix.
just made him a screeching old guy that was very not entertaining.
And that left and has nothing to do with it.
Yeah,
and it might come in a sequel, I guess.
So what is his point? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
If this gets a sequel,
They'd have to redeem him.
I do appreciate that little dialogue.
Yeah.
There. It's like, oh, everyone that shipped with him died. It's like, oh yeah, we're gonna die.
Yeah.
It's like they're acknowledging their red shirt status.
Yeah. What's my last name? You know they were going to get Hugo Weaving back, but he couldn't do it. He was working on another movie.
There was
really
in Reddit's shitty movie details subreddit. There was a really funny joke. It was in The Matrix. Hugo Weaving's character Agent Smith can be seen dodging bullets. This is in reference to how Hugo Weaving dodged a bullet by not being in The Matrix Resurrections.
Oh, I'd like to have seen him in this.
I would.
I don't think the actor that they got to play him was bad per se, but it's Hugo Weaving.
Yeah,
like he would have elevated every one of these scenes.
Yeah, yeah.
It might not have made the story better, but it would have made the movie more entertaining.
Agreed. With the sound solo and subtitles on it, makes me feel like I'm watching a movie at home with the kids asleep.
Oh, really?
Downstairs, I can crank it up pretty good, but upstairs, I have to have subtitles.
Oh, I had this thing cranked when we were watching it.
Well, I'm sure. When my wife and I did, we had the same.
I think the
thing.
neighbors were probably like, "It's a little too loud."
Shouldn't have bought a townhome then. Or rented a townhome.
Also,
Okay.
the Exiles were so much cooler in the previous movies.
Yeah.
They're just not here for this one.
They look like
They don't have cool abilities. They don't do anything cool. They
Exactly.
the choreography's messy, and the man, it's like we went back in time to like 2008, where everybody was doing
this kind of reminds me of like this is the Lost Boys from Hook.
Yeah. Just because he caught bullets with his teeth, I mean, that's a good nod to some older.
Yeah, this whole stupid scene, like, had nothing to do with it. No need. That's just like, how are you freaking out?
I don't like what they did to him.
And they had to give him nasty teeth because that's the whole,
I mean, his fall from grace or whatever, or from power in the new Matrix, but I don't. It's not entertaining. It just reminds me of how cool he was, and how entertaining he was. I don't say he was cool. He was definitely a dick, but he was entertaining, and he's not here.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. It's like move, cut. Like, did they not learn anything in doing better choreography?
Like, that guy was so useless.
I don't even understand the purpose of this scene. Like, why are they in the Matrix again here?
Okay, so they're going back in to free Trinity. So they're heading towards Trinity's motorcycle workshop that she talked about earlier.
I mean, that's where I got confused. Is like, okay, how
here
is this
their best entry point to get to her workshop? So it's some building near her building, I guess.
No.
And then they get interrupted by the Exiles and Smith because they're like, you can't, because the analyst is waiting for you there also, and we can't have him catch you. But then also they want to kill him because Merv is mad because suddenly millennials, I think. Like, literally, he's just like, we had
and his
phones.
dialogue here is
it's so cringy.
bad.
So cringy.
It's just awful.
Yeah. It's like, he's a boomer, and this is, what he's going to complain about. See, he's the bad guy. And it's like, I don't care. I really don't care. And then like this, every punch, cut, throw, cut, punch, cut. It's like, you don't get to see any they just didn't have the choreography. Like, this is not an interesting stylistic choice in martial arts from a Matrix movie where they were doing really cool things. Although I do like that one part where they were just like, yeah, Smith is coming around, we're getting out of here. Like, nobody wants to mess with him.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool because it acknowledges his power. There's storytelling there. But the rest of it, no. And the I know Kung Fu thing is stupid.
Yeah, that was
a dumb line.
Here's your one other scene with this power, which is supposed to be like the subway scene in the very first one.
Yeah, but it's not.
Well, it could be either the subway scene after that punch, that solidified me. It's supposed to be like scene. It's a subway scene.
Yeah,
but it's also very similar to the third act scene of when Smith and Neo fight.
Yeah,
in the third one as well.
Yeah, which honestly isn't my favorite part of any scenes they're in. Like, I like the subway scene. That's iconic.
Yes.
Also, the choreography's better.
They really like shoving his back into things. Like, that's the whole game on this movie is just run Neo into something. Like, that's the whole thing. Just run him into the wall, run him into the pillar, run him into something.
Parkour.
And she's actually a talented martial artist. The lady who's playing Bug.
Mm-hmm.
And you can tell because they don't do as many cuts.
Yeah, they still do a lot of cuts.
I know, they still do a lot.
And she's not, I don't know.
Choreography is still
like
not great.
Like, the great thing about it feels like they studied, like, Jet Li and Jackie Chan, and I mean, it's Wu Ping doing the choreography in the first ones. I'd be surprised if he did if his team did this one.
I would say he probably didn't. It
doesn't feel like
no. Stylistically, it's not the same.
Yeah,
that's the scene I was just talking about.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
not my favorite scene of theirs, but
no, me either.
Way better than what we're seeing here.
Yeah, well, I mean, the ending of the third one anyway went too long, in my opinion. This fight, Smith and Neil,
and I know they tried to address some of this. You know, where Smith is like saying, you know, there's something missing from you or something like that. And then he's able to do this. I'm like, I don't know. The little bubble shield that he's able to put up, and that's his, like, one. It feels like we're watching Overwatch, and that's his one move.
Right.
That's his super.
And it's on recharge.
Yeah, it has to it's on cooldown. And then he's gonna put up his bubble shield again. You know, he's Winston. He's basically Winston from Overwatch. Jumping monkey. See, it's like I'm not who I used to be, and then you know
that was kind of cool. I like that. It was kind of cool, like hence the kind of.
Yeah,
not super cool, not amazing. It was just like, oh, kind of neat.
I mean, it is, I believe, Trinity's move,
and then that's a move right out of the third one.
Yep. Well, no, actually,
where they crack the
first. That's how the first one.
Where they crack this.
Yep.
In that pattern.
Yeah.
Then they must have mimicked it in the third one as well.
Probably. They did. Yeah. But that and the multi-hit thing that's all from
Subway scene.
Those Poe urinals. I mean, I've seen better
days.
I
don't think they have feelings, but all right.
I don't know if they've seen better days.
I don't know what if it's the way that they shot it, like the film they shot it, or how they color graded or whatever. It feels like the other one felt more gritty overall, like the actual color grading.
Yeah.
Does it feel more realistic? More?
They're using a lot more colors. It feels like.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Thank you. That's exactly what I'm thinking too.
It is a different Matrix than the other one.
Yes.
Fundamentally. Oh, see, his cooldown's off. Oh, I guess he's got two abilities.
Yeah, this whole stupid little robot scene, just dumb. Not needed. Just garbage.
Okay. I've seen worse like this.
Yeah.
Man, I hate the Merovingian in this. And that's the last you'll see of him.
Yeah. And that was really crappily shot, too. Like, just, oh.
If you watch, one of his feathers dropped.
I gotta know the story behind the making of this.
Like, what happened?
Yeah. Like, it feels like there's some drama behind the scenes that would explain some of this. You know, like the stuff that came out of Anthem, the video game and stuff like the production hell and, you know, bad choices.
Where's Jason Schreier? Yeah, where is he for this?
Okay. Now we're going to some of the stuff I hate. I just absolutely dislike about this.
I have a question for you.
Yep.
Did you like the scene with the architect, or did you think that was kind of not good?
The scene from the second one?
Yeah, from the second one.
I actually like it.
Okay. Right.
I didn't understand it the first time I saw it.
Sure.
But the second time I watched it and I understood and listened to his words,
right?
I liked it a lot, actually.
I feel like they're trying to do the exact same scene here.
I would agree with that. Okay. I just think it's
sort of, but then they do it again later too. So
I just think it's more poorly done.
This scene is where I paused the movie to see how much time was left.
Oh no,
that's not good.
Oh no.
Like right after the Merovingian, whatever his name is, Merovingian fight. Like I was like, well, how much time is left?
Merv for short.
Merv.
That's what Trey called him in number 3.
one of my biggest complaints was about this movie is it took too long to get here. It took too long to bring Trinity into it.
And this, I hate this slow-mo stuff. Like
this is one thing I hate the most. I hate it.
And the camera filters on his arms moving, and it's just like...
I've got a really bad theory.
Okay, go ahead.
The bad theory is that this was shot earlier, and this was their version of bullet time. It was supposed to be that awesome. Then all the complaints about bullet time that's earlier in the movie, where the marketing people are talking about it, and it's kind of tongue-in-cheek and cynical. Feels like maybe that was written into the movie later, like after this scene was shot, because the producers were like, "So this is your new bullet time, huh? It's not very good." And she was like, "Well, screw that." And it's like, put the other scene in there. It's supposed to be about, it has to be better than bullet time, But that's what this feels like it is.
This stupid filter. Like, there's no need for it. All you have to do is walk.
There isn't. I mean, it also feels like the whole not shaky cam, but like distorted effect they put on Morpheus when he took the red pill.
Yeah,
it's like as it doesn't hit. It doesn't hit hard enough. There's nothing interesting.
And this is my point. There's no standout like special effects like in any of the other ones. Second one tried to do better, slow-mo time and all that stuff. It looked poor, especially in that first fight with Smith, all the Smiths. But this is just, I don't know. This is a poor recreation, in my opinion, of taking something that everybody makes fun of, thinks of the Matrix as, and reversing it, just turning it on its head, but not in a good way.
Yeah, this body horror is why it's
body horror is pretty good, actually. That is, like, if you're gonna do body horror, that's pretty effective.
And it's
like
why
that,
it's rated R.
Oof. God, that reminds me of Bone Tomahawk.
Oh, don't remind me of that film. I've forgotten about it, and it was a good thing too, because that film
and now it's back
burned in my brain, and I will never see that again, and I will never recommend it to anyone.
Which is also the reason I've never seen it, nor do I want to.
Yeah, no, you do not want to see it.
It will live in your head rent free.
You will never forget it. Oh, thanks, Britt.
Yep, you're welcome.
Jerk. Oh.
Yeah, I don't like that. Let's say bad things happen. That's not a very good explanation. I kind of like this idea. I mean, it's an interesting idea. It's like if they're too far apart, they wake up independently. If they're too close together, bad things happen, whatever that means. I guess they start sparks again because they're in love. If he keeps them just far enough, like a magnet around like a
MRI machine.
Yeah, or a turbine. It's like, then it's perfect. Everything works. And then it's weird. They're combining like 3 different scenes from the original Matrix in this one scene, right? They've got their bullet time effect, which we have pretty much said is not very it's not as interesting as bullet time visually. They have the architect scene, I guess that's from the second movie, where he's explaining what the Matrix is now versus what it was before.
This whole swarm mode is sick fun. I'm like, what the frick? I hate that line.
And then it's also the Morpheus scene with Agent Smith in the first movie where Smith is explaining his view of what the Matrix is, right? And it's all in one scene here. That's why this scene feels weird. It's got so many things going on. And none of them are amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it is interesting that unlike the architect, he's more like, you guys are more about feelings. And the architect didn't like humans and didn't understand feelings. So therefore, he didn't have a good version. His idea of the Matrix was flawed from the beginning. He's like, my version of the Matrix works better and is way more efficient and everything else like that because, I recognize that as long as I can keep your feelings at a certain place, you guys are more energetic and I guess give off more power.
Which is dumb.
Well, I mean,
the whole thing is flawed. Like, it comes down to whether or not you can suspend your disbelief for the whole human beings as power cells.
Okay, outside of the human beings as power cells, the screenplay is putting forth a new idea, which is, do you guys think that people are more ruled by their feelings or by their logical thoughts?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely feelings and motivations, because what's that? There's a whole observed effect where we judge each other based on their actions, but we judge ourselves based on our motivations. And so it's just like, I definitely subscribe to the motivations and thoughts, and
the feelings are probably more important than, and you're more able to be controlled by your feelings than by
facts.
facts. Yeah.
And beliefs.
Yeah, it feels like basically Lana commenting on like current social media and maybe or something like that. It's more about feelings than it is about facts.
Yeah, and then this whole thing is like,
yeah,
we're gonna bring you back just to have you volunteer to go out again, and it's just like, why did we? Again, it's this whole Niobe thing that I struggle with.
Well, and it does. Yeah, at this point, the way the movie is structured, you're right. It feels like padding, which this movie doesn't need padding.
No.
So I don't know why they're doing this again, because they're literally just going back out again.
Yeah, same scene. They probably recorded it the same exact day, the same exact,
Yeah, I don't know.
Same exact set. Probably wearing the same clothes. It's like, because we can only afford to H her up once.
I mean, this doesn't say anything about like Neo and Trinity.
No.
Like, if the story is about Neo and Trinity,
this says nothing.
This doesn't say anything, because we already know he'll do anything to get her back. So this scene doesn't establish his motivation anymore.
No.
And I mean, if they can't,
and then this non sequitur, like it just.
And then this is basically a straight up MacGuffin. It's just out of nowhere.
It is. It's like, oh, we got to
like, oh, this is a new thing.
Here's How to Train Your Dragon.
Weird bird, octopus, squid thing.
Avatar. Here, connect to my nodes. Skyrim.
Dang it! Bethesda was able to remake it again. Into the Matrix.
Oh my gosh! What level of Skyrim is this now? Oh, can't believe they released another one, freaking anniversary edition. Money grubbing a-holes. Get me started on that.
Yeah, not really the point of this recording.
No, not at all. Okay, we will do a whole other recording on Skyrim anniversary.
Oh, we will. Okay.
Just be me ranting.
Yes, it's you.
We'll put a John rant on there.
You know what grinds my gears?
I don't know, Peter Griffin. What does?
Yeah. Her father designing the resurrection pods is an interesting retcon.
Yeah. And the whole point is like, why didn't you say something? I mean, I know she explains it, but it still seems kind of like a dumb.
I mean, Niobe's line here is good. I like the writing of it, like just in the moment, but at the same time, like, my friends let me make my own choices. That was a good line. I like it.
Yeah.
But I don't, this whole scene is
dumb.
Unneeded.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, this is now Ocean's 11, and, she's going to be designing the whole process of how they break Trinity out, or how they steal Trinity. But I don't know. I mean, Rick and Morty's right. This became a heist movie. Everything becomes a heist movie.
Son of a bitch, I'm in.
Yeah.
It really is.
It's a heist movie, yeah.
And then the reveal of, oh yeah, you're absolutely right. And it's pissing me off. Now that I see it that way, this is Ocean's 15.
Yeah.
Gosh dang it. Ocean's Resurrections. So
you son of a bitch, I'm in.
Glenn Close come out of nowhere. Or George Clooney. George Clooney come out of nowhere. Ah, jeez. Where's Brad Pitt?
He's the bird. The bird. Octopus robot. That's a dumb question.
Yeah.
You know exactly what she's doing.
I do kind of like that.
Yeah.
I'm ordering you to go.
Yeah.
It's like
when Captain ordering you. That's a nice subversion, but at the same time, like
it's kind of still stupid.
Yeah. And again, this feels unnecessary.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing too. She practically sacrificed herself in the third movie to make that whole thing work.
Yeah.
And she suddenly doesn't understand it, but then immediately turns around and understands it, and then thanks him. It's I don't know. It feels maybe it's not sloppy. I'm not good enough writer. I'm not a writer, so I can't say if it's sloppy.
And then the knuckle up stuff was just like,
well, I mean,
just felt dumb. Like
this takes place generations after your kids.
No,
so
I know it absolutely.
So it's possible that
but that will not stand the test of time. Like that is just
maybe
not.
Who knows?
Here's the heist. Now that you said it, man, I can't not see it. It's pissing me off.
We have Trucula, and
totally
we have
is. It totally freaking is a heist movie.
Yeah.
Oh no! Matrix Resurrections is a heist.
Oh,
and this is like per formula heist movie.
Yep.
Man, that lessens the experience even more for you now, man. Like you have no idea.
I like a good heist movie.
A good heist movie, but I don't want Matrix to be a heist movie. Like,
yeah.
And then here's the only other role Morpheus plays.
Well, and the funny thing about Ocean's 11 is that this has the same heist premise where by the time the guards even notice that
it's already done.
It's already been done, yeah.
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 And the audience is kind of kept in that same state of suspense until it's over. And you're like, oh, it was already taken care of.
Yep.
Ugh. And this whole part is like suspense for no reason.
It does make me, it's like, okay, they got a shielding technology. Okay, that's new.
Yeah.
And then like he's able to just burn through it. Okay, fine. He lost some of his pebbles.
This is like iRobot.
Without all
I was made for this purpose.
Yeah, without all his fruity pebbles, does he is he not like fully like where's his sentience if like he loses some of the marbles?
Like the Bucky balls.
Yeah, some of the Bucky balls.
Well, there goes my empathy. I don't care about this mission anymore.
Does he lose his left hand? Is it literally just his back muscles that go away? I don't know. Will he be able to make this jump? I mean, that's a cool.
He's Bucky balls.
That's a cool looking scene, but I'm like, yeah, he's gonna make it. Why wouldn't he make it?
Open the devacuator line.
That's a lot of teeth.
Oh, what did that remind me of? There's something that reminded me of. I just can't remember right now. Yeah, and this...
I don't understand this. Do you understand?
No.
Why do we need another mind to...
And that's near enough to match? Is it because I have blue hair? Like, why? I never... Oh... Never got that.
Yeah, it feels like an ass pull. It's just we need a reason for this to happen, so why not?
And it almost doesn't matter at all. And like the bypass doesn't matter, and it's like none of it really mattered at all.
That's some funky hair.
Yeah, she's had that. But she also had that funky shirt, so fashion is...
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of cool she drew a treble clef on the side of her head with her hair. I mean, that's kind of neat.
And then anyways. And then, like, the whole motivation for this was pointless. This has nothing to do with the story of Neo and Trinity. And
well, it's all about her and her want for revenge.
yeah,
because her parents got purged.
Yeah,
and it's like, okay, so it's a revenge story for her.
And then they introduce another character, Kujaku.
Yeah,
and it's like, why did you introduce yet another? Why? Why did you do this again? This was the second time I stopped the movie to see how much time was left.
And then we got to get her backstory with her Trinity thing, which is fine. Like, I don't mind that. I just don't need that with everything else also. Like, this is cool in some ways because it explains why she was the one that said yet in that previous conversation. And again, at least it's centered around Trinity and Neo and their story. Yeah. It's about them. And it's how their stories have drawn in these other people. But I don't know. It's like this with the heist and the general and Io and all that stuff. It's like I don't know what I'm supposed to feel about this.
Yeah. But again, doesn't that look like the most uncomfortable shirt?
I mean, I don't know. Never tried to wear it.
Well, I'm gonna go make one and try to wear it now.
I mean, it looks a little breezy
on those cold ships. Yeah.
I mean, they might be humid ships. Who knows? We don't know what the temperature's like.
Support the head.
Support the head. Interesting tentacle censoring.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This scene was kind of neat with the whole. There's no reason for any of this, but I love the mechanics.
Yeah, the mechanics really cool. are great. They're intriguing. They're, it's interesting. I mean, it's very.
And you get a close up of like the tubes and everything. Like
it's very Geiger-esque, and I'm here for it. I do like Simulate. Yeah. That's a quality pun, and I appreciate it.
Yeah. Suspenseful music continues. Moses parts the Red Sea.
See, that feels like a direct acknowledgement of what you're saying. Handsome Chad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was that she basically put that in there to nod at the meme.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if I want memes in my Matrix.
No, I don't.
Like, I don't mind Matrix in my memes, but I'm not sure I want memes in my Matrix. Can anybody explain to me why this guarantees them walking out?
No, I don't get it. Why? I don't get it either.
I thought the same thing when we were...
Why cheap? What's his face?
I don't know why the analyst would think, oh, okay, okay.
That's all the guys in here, so apparently nobody can unplug them while they're in here.
Yeah, that makes no sense.
It doesn't make any sense to me at all whatsoever.
I wonder if those are Beats by Dre ear intros.
Slow, suspenseful music playing now.
Yeah.
She's like, what did you do?
Well, that's the thing too, is like, how does this work with her consciousness? Like, this is so outside the norm of what she would expect. Wouldn't she immediately wake up? Like, if just watching him step off a balcony wakes up like half the people that are on the ship, you know, how does her walking in this situation not immediately make her wake up?
Yeah.
I do like the idea of Trinity sitting down and trying to play a video game. It's like a 3-part series.
Yeah. In a day.
Although I wonder what type of video game it is. Like immersive sim, I guess? Cyberpunk 2077 style?
No, it's a real-time strategy.
It's real-time strategy. I think it's a Pokemon-like game, like collective.
I got Morpheus!
Yeah. Gotcha game.
Select them all.
Trading card game.
Yeah, trading card.
It's Hearthstone in the Matrix.
I play Blue Eyes White Cipher. I was thinking Red Mage, White Mage. It's the first thing I thought of when you said those. Real-time strategy. Yeah.
And this is so heavy-handed, like.
Well, yeah, and they address it later in the movie, but it doesn't. I don't know. It feels weird. It feels really weird.
Yeah.
Like if she thought those were her actual kids, there's no way.
I do appreciate his acting right there. It's like, I understand.
Yeah, I mean,
him like giving the space.
That feels like real genuine caring, as opposed to like how Hollywood would do it usually, which is where he would throw a fit and you have to, and he'd try way too hard. Like his resignation feels more like adults in love as opposed to teenagers in love.
Yeah. And then Cheap, what's his face? I can't remember his name. Oh, he plays I can't remember his name.
Okay.
Plays the big red guy, the comic book hero, the big red demon guy.
Hellboy?
Hellboy, yeah, he plays Hellboy.
Who?
Ron Perlman?
Ron Perlman, yeah, it's Cheap Ron Perlman.
No.
That's what he looked like, was
No.
Cheap Ron Perlman.
I disagree.
I don't agree with that at all.
Like, leaving him? Totally get it. But the kids? I don't.
Yeah. And
I have a hard time with that one.
I agree.
Like,
how
up
the
until
kids just
now,
disappear.
she thought they were
Her kids.
and that's her kids. As far as she knows, that's her kids. Okay, his cooldown came off. I mean, it's kind of accidental renaissance, but I don't know. I hate that. I'm not a fan of that effect.
Yeah, not at all.
He's supposed to be moving faster than the camera and the scene around him, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's just really done badly.
And then
The Deus Ex Machina.
Deus Ex Smith.
Yeah, it really is a Deus Ex Machina.
Yeah, it is. Straight up is. Like he didn't know he was here. I mean, something tells me that was probably difficult to shoot in some way to do that visual effect. But yeah,
yeah,
and I don't like the bubble
thing
effect they put in front of Neo. Like before, they just stopped, right?
But now they're hitting like a force.
But now they're actually hitting a force field.
It reminds me of the same frustration I felt.
It feels cheaper, right?
Yeah, it reminds me of the same frustration I felt in Return of the Jedi where they're lobbing the lasers in space at the shields. The same kind of cheapening of the effect.
Not Return of the Jedi.
Or
Last Jedi.
Last Jedi. Sorry. Last Jedi.
Yeah.
Where they're lobbing the lasers.
Right.
Right. That's what it feels like. They've cheapened the...
Yeah, because before they animated each bullet, and each bullet had a trail behind it, and it was slowing down as it got closer to until it stopped. And now they're just like, it has a bubble force field. And I feel like, I'm like...
And this whole thing doesn't
Isn't that
matter.
just a plug-in in After Effects? Like, it probably is, and I'm probably, undercutting the amount of work it took to put the bubble there, but that's what it feels like.
Yeah. And I don't get the cat. It's like the
I don't
cat,
either.
the way he resets the world, I guess.
Yeah, the importance of the cat, is it like his, totem?
Yeah.
Is he a shaman?
And
this
whole
interconnecting of minds.
This whole thing is
and stuff.
absolutely useless and worthless. And like this whole scene, the whole mind didn't matter.
Yeah, I don't understand it.
Yeah, kind of dumb.
Like, there's a cool idea here, and I'll talk about it at the end, relating Trinity and Neo and everything else like that. I don't know if it's communicated well. I guess it's communicated enough for me to have the idea, and I'm not even sure it's their intention. But I thought it was a neat idea when I watched it last time. And I feel like I know what they're going for here, like visually. It's like, I feel like there should be a wide shot of that.
Mm-hmm, I agree.
Like, this is okay, but it's so close. I feel like if I could see a wide shot of both groups, like that, I don't know. It's weird that I want a shot that isn't in the movie. Like, I can visualize it, and I'm like, that would be a cool shot, and it's not there.
Yeah, this initiates swarm. And here's where the Deus Ex Machina ends.
Yeah. I mean, okay, it's a big idea. It makes sense to a degree. He has no personal identity. He's exactly opposite of Neo. Neo is a central identity, and Smith takes over anybody.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It doesn't feel like it lands as strong as what the movie wants it to land.
Okay, so you were asking me if I pointed out like maybe some of my more favorite parts of action. There's a couple of ideas that happen here. Now that pisses me off that they took away his a lot of his powers, like him trying to fly.
Oh, they had to nerf him like crazy to make this movie work.
Yeah. But there are a few kind of interesting things that happen in this battle that are kind of reminiscent. And I kind of like the idea of it's coming up here in a minute of him. They do activate the swarm, but the swarm, starts dive bombing them.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was kind of cool. That was one of the few parts. And I thought the whole motorcycle chase thing was a little bit more reminiscent to, say, like the highway scene. Or
I think the highway scene. Do you think this scene is better than the highway scene?
Oh, no way.
Well, that's
no.
Is that it makes me think of something better that they already did previously. It's similar to the way I have the problem with like the Cowboy Bebop live action, right? Like I didn't get through the first episode because it just made me want to go watch the original.
Okay.
Like that's the only thing I could think of while I was watching is like I'd rather watch the original, and that's kind of what the motorcycle chase scene here is like. Yeah, isn't that cool? The highway scene was so awesome. We're not doing it as well, and I'm like, well, why don't I just go back and watch that?
Yeah. Now, like I said, there's aspects in there that I thought were kind of cool that they did.
Yeah.
But but it's not any better than anything else they've done previous.
Right. And it doesn't have to be better, but different would be nice.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that's with the falling zombies out of the towers that was.
Yeah, this is just basically zombies and just wasn't done as well.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a heist movie mixed with zombies. So there's that.
Very true. Also, they never run out of ammo. This movie is really bad about the ammo.
It's no John Wick. Was anybody in that car that we knew?
No, not that I know of.
Yeah, I don't think any of our people that were trying to get out were in that car.
So that whole scene didn't.
So
matter.
that was just him creating a barricade and that's reminiscent of the
highway scene. Yep, of the agents jumping across the road.
But not as interesting.
No. There's a couple car flips here that happen too that are just like zombies.
You know what would be interesting? So there's a scene in Ready Player One where they take out a whole section of the 101 people, and you see them in real life in the settings, and all their pods turn red like in a row.
Yep.
It would be interesting to see like the pods turn off in the real world that are on the edge of a tower of all these people dying. So you can see that you make a connection that there's a real life is lost every time they use them in the swarm. Because that's true.
It's true.
Right? At least as far as I understand it, every time they kill someone here, someone actually physically dies in a pod somewhere on those towers.
Yep.
And I think that would be really neat. That would be a way to, like right now, it's like, what are the stakes, right? Our people are going to get out. But there's an interesting moral conundrum on the idea that they're actually ending lives that could wake up.
And the thing is about the scene, we don't care about anyone getting out because Bug's already out.
Yeah.
We only care about Neo and Trinity.
Yeah, we don't really know these people.
We don't really know anyone else or care about anyone else. So they're interspersing these cuts with other people, and it's just like, okay, I don't really care. And this whole scene where Bug jumps in to rescue,
I'm just like,
this is another point too. Who are, they introduce these people in the background there on the ship. They're never used again.
Yeah.
There's background players.
Yeah.
I guess it's to show that the operator's not by himself.
And this one feels so gratuitous. The double,
it feels like a Universal show. Like
exactly. It feels like a ride.
At Universal, yeah.
It feels like a ride.
Yeah.
Yeah, this whole rescue scene just wasn't needed. Absolutely not needed.
I wish there was something to comment on here, but it's like you got silent all of a sudden with Trinity and I mean, they're not doing much. Oh, and then, okay, now they're walking into this lobby, which kind of gives me a lobby scene vibe.
Right.
Oh, look at that. Look at the wall. The wall is that same rock.
Yeah.
And force field back up. And he's struggling to do it. I guess.
Yeah.
It looked that way.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe to make Josh really mad, there's a comic book that explains all these back characters.
Yeah, you had to say that because
I
hate that.
Yeah.
C-3PO with the red arm. You can only find out in the comic book.
Yeah.
They did it way too much with the Star Wars trilogy.
I'm happy with the Star Wars trilogy. But that's not the point of this podcast.
I mean, we kind of started there.
Yeah,
One of the first ones was ranking Star Wars movies.
It was the first one.
It was the first one. Yeah.
I wasn't involved in that one.
No, you weren't.
That was before you came in.
It was pre-John.
The time we don't talk about.
There was only 2 podcasts without you. Everything else has been with you.
Before John was like, "Hey, you guys have a podcast? I'm totally in it now." We're like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, I just showed up.
You showed up.
Act like you belong, and eventually you make it.
Day 23, and they haven't noticed.
Okay, I hate to say this right now, but I kind of am feeling like John right now a little bit. Like I almost want to. It's like I'm not really that sucked into the movie.
Yeah, you want to stop and say like, okay,
No, I don't want to stop.
no, you want to pause it and say, okay, how much time is left? All right,
yeah.
If we didn't have the timer up in the right hand corner, I would have wanted to have paused or checked the time by now.
Oh.
But I know the run time. I know how much time we have on the timer, so I know where we're at.
And that sucks to me.
Yeah, it
because
sucks when I have to do that.
The Matrix, the original, is such a favorite of mine.
Yeah.
I even like the other 2. Okay.
I don't know that I'm ever going to watch this again.
I want an expose on how this was made, what the creators think about it.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't feel like they love it. I get the feeling that they don't love that they put this together. And maybe I'm wrong, because, sometimes people put stuff together. Like Zack Snyder loves a lot of his own movies that he made, and I don't, right? And they feel cynical, and they don't necessarily work for me every time. But he seems like he really likes them.
You want me to bring up Sucker Punch right now, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. He liked that movie. He liked how he made it. It was his movie, and and it just didn't work for me. It's like this feels like they didn't like making this movie.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't necessary to make this movie, and they had to do it for some other reason.
You feel like their whole heart wasn't into it all. Like it was more mandatory.
It feels too cynical, and yet not. Like they tried to rescue it from its cynicism, but never quite really make it there. I don't know. And then, what do you think about this subversion?
I like the subversion. I like the change. I like the whole Neo and Trinity. And Trinity does have powers now, and she's a powerful force and all that jazz. But the scene itself is dumb. Like, I'm not doing this.
Are you doing this?
Like that whole stupid interaction was just not useless.
Isn't it obvious she's doing this?
It's just dumb. It's like, you got it from right there. That's all you needed was that shot.
Yeah.
And you got it. I do appreciate the music as a throwback to when he comes back to life and stuff. Like, that's cool.
Right.
But this whole bye.
Yeah, and then this just this feels weird.
Yeah.
Like it.
And it just was not done.
It just
this shot here though I really liked.
Yeah, I like this shot too. I just
where they both come out of it and they both look at each other like, whoa.
Yeah, this is great acting, great set. Yeah, good scene. Like that's the thing is like this movie. There's parts of it that I really like. I think,
like I said,
these
two a good movie here.
Yeah, these 2 actors play. I actually believe that they do love each other.
Yeah.
Which I can't necessarily say for a lot of Hollywood couples or a lot of Hollywood created romantic subplots. But this isn't really a subplot.
But that's why I say I think there's a good movie here.
Yeah,
a really good movie here.
I just don't know how you do it. Like
I don't know either, and it just shows. Yeah, but it just feels like there's a good movie there. Maybe embrace the heist even more.
Yeah, maybe.
Crumbling in the distance.
And they definitely got their R rating at this scene.
Yeah.
I still don't get the significance of the cat other than its name Deja Vu.
Yeah.
That was in the first Matrix.
I don't either.
So this is the architect scene again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's an interesting comment on like sentimentality because that's kind of what their relationship hinges on.
Mm-hmm.
So like I said, it swings back to the cynicism. And this dialogue doesn't feel real.
No, it doesn't.
Like I don't mind stylized dialogue. Like I like Aaron Sorkin's writing, even though no one talks like that. But this isn't at that level. It feels like,
No.
or at least isn't that compelling. And I really don't like the remake of the song.
No, neither do I.
Like I just don't. I don't like the production, what they did to it. It doesn't like it feels less genuine than Rage Against the Machine's original.
And here's
the
what
movie.
Here's when I would book it out of the theater and not talk to anyone for about 5 minutes before I just unload of what a movie we just saw.
Well, okay. So do you want to hear my?
I mean, that's why we're here.
Yeah, I guess. So like, she gets powers, right?
Mhm.
But the Neo is supposed to be the one. So I thought I was having a conversation with a friend, and we were talking about. He's like, I thought there was only supposed to be one. It's the one. It's not the two.
Yep.
And everything else like that. And I was like, well, I wonder. Like, it's not in the movie. It's just me spitballing. But I was like, the one arises multiple times throughout the Matrix.
That's true.
6 times according to the old architect
Mm-hmm.
before the current one. Or the current one is.
Yeah, he was the seventh iteration.
He was the seventh, right?
Yeah.
And they're going to arise no matter what over time, right? That's just the problem of the Matrix itself is that it generates the one every once in a while,
Yes.
right? But okay, if that's the case, and they've been at this for 60 years, there needs to be another one, but they never killed off the old one. So now in this universe, she awakens because she's in proximity to the one this entire time.
Uh-huh.
So she's basically Generation 8. She takes the place of Generation 8. That's why there's 2 powerful one, quote unquote ones
Yeah,
in this new Matrix.
I agree with that.
And I thought it was
I can see
interesting.
that now that you explained it that way.
Yeah, I don't even no idea if that's true because there's nothing in the movie that really says that. That came out of a conversation we had, and I thought it was interesting.
No, I agree with that.
But yeah, I don't know. I've watched this. This is the 3rd time I've watched this movie.
This is my 2nd time.
And it's not unwatchable.
No.
It's not.
But it's not something I'm going to turn on again.
And is it something that was hoping or expecting a Matrix 4 to be?
I
No.
don't know what a Matrix
I
4
don't-
would be.
I'll be honest with you. This doesn't feel like a Matrix movie to me.
I think I'm going to go back to my old standby, which is tell a different story in the same setting.
Yes.
Yep.
Don't tell. I mean, as much as we went, we really like the parts where this is about Neo and Trinity and their relationship. Like that seems like the part of the movie or the screenplay that this movie really wants to focus on, and we're here for that. You know, it's fine. Those are the best parts of this movie that we got. But it would be interesting if we got another movie set in the Matrix, like in the same world, but with different characters. Like just a difference. Tell a high story. A high story in this would work great. Like if that's the whole story, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where it uses the background, it uses the scenery. I mean, you know, I don't know.
Yeah.
Tell a comedy.
It's funny. I saw a few reviews. I was trying to keep my head out of the stuff like that. But that's some of the stuff I did hear through the radio and stuff like that. That it was like people thought it was hilarious and it had a lot of comedy in it.
I mean, it had some comedy beats,
but it wasn't anything.
But
it left me. This whole movie left me feeling bland.
Okay.
Just like real basic. Like there wasn't any real action scene that really lit me up. There was parts of pieces of things. There was nothing that really truly sucked me in to this and really wanted, to know more about this story.
Yeah.
There just wasn't. There was nothing I could just grab onto and say, that was amazing. There's not a lot of amazing here. I don't hate this movie.
I mean,
but I really don't like it that much either.
Can you name the parts that you did like, though? Like, what are a couple of things you did like? I'll go first, if you want.
Go ahead.
Okay. I thought the body horror was done well.
Yep.
I think the Machine City and kind of anything that happened outside the Matrix looked still the same and cool. Like the mechanics, the Geiger-esque aspect of it, the horror of it, I thought was compelling. But it was basically the same thing it was previously, but at least they didn't do it worse. Like it was still very good. It's like kind of like looking at what they were putting on screen. I was like, this is cool looking. This is really neat looking. People that work on the visual effects, or at least the background aspects of it, they did a really good job, and they had some really cool pieces to it. I liked Moss and Reeves in almost all their scenes when they were together.
Yep,
I think they did a really good job. I don't know. I mean, I'm not inspired by the story, but again, like that, I was trying to get to the positives. So, yeah. What do you think? What were some scenes that you actually did like?
Most of the scenes I liked you pointed them out already. I liked a lot of this. I felt like they dilly-dallied a lot through the beginning had some cool parts of it,
mm-hmm.
With is it real, is it not? That scene, is he really crazy? Was it really just a game? And then it kind of went, from there on, it was kind of like, so that was like the most intriguing part. But then you get to the middle part where he actually gets pulled out of the Matrix and then it turns, like you guys have been saying, into a heist movie, basically, of getting Trinity back. I can't say much after that. Like, there's not really anything that I really think is really good outside of that, other than, again, what you said, when they're both together.
Mm-hmm.
They're fantastic when they're together.
Yeah.
It's just, there's no story there.
John?
Keanu and Trinity scenes, Carrie Ann Moss's scenes are probably my favorites.
Yeah.
But that's as far as that goes. Like, I'm not going to watch this again. I don't think I will.
That's fair.
But yeah, those scenes are probably my favorite out of all of it. The powerful scenes. Except for the flying one. The flying and the like, that was the only Neo Trinity scene where I was just like, are you kidding me? No, this is dumb. But yeah. So that's
all right.
what I got.
The Matrix Resurrections.
Did you like it? Did you not? Let us know.
Do we have ratings
and stuff? Let's do ratings. I forgot about ratings. Hello. I'm gonna rate this, and I'm gonna rate it at a 5 out of 10.
Okay.
Flying Neos. Or hanging Neos from the sky from Trinity.
I wouldn't watch this with my mom because I don't want to sit through it again.
Okay. That's fair.
So,
yeah, and I'd probably give it a 6 out of 10. I have seen worse movies movies that I didn't like as much from the Wachowskis than this one, but I've definitely seen ones better than this. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Like, I think it was better than average for a movie.
I think it would have been better if it wasn't a Matrix movie. Like, if we weren't, there wasn't.
If it wasn't tied to the previous one. Yeah.
I think it would have been a better story. I mean, when you're talking a fourth movie, a lot of people are coming in with expectations, and
yeah, especially for this,
and a lot of those expectations weren't necessarily.
I think that's part of the commentary the movie's trying to make is we can't meet those expectations. Okay. I mean, there's a whole sub theme in this movie about choice and how it really is no choice. And like, you notice that Morpheus doesn't even offer him more than the red pill when he first comes up to him. It's like, what choice? There's a whole thing through the beginning of the movie about what you're offering me a choice, but there isn't really a choice here. Like, I know what I have to do. Mm-hmm. Right? It's not really a choice. So like that comes up over and over again. And I wonder if it feels like that's a commentary on even the making of this movie, that they didn't have a choice and Warner Brothers was going to make a Matrix 4 without them. And they were like, well, at least we can be a part of it.
That would be my only guess on it.
Yeah. And if that's the case, which is pure speculation on my part, they pulled off a pretty good movie for what they had to do. Like, I've seen a lot worse than this. But is it up to the expectations? No.
No.
And at the same time, I don't even know what my expectations are. Like, I don't even know. I didn't even want to force.
I wanted to feel entertained, and I don't feel like I was that as entertained as I thought I should be.
Yeah, fair.
I just didn't. I felt very blasé the whole time. It was just very baseline. Like, this
never really got you excited.
No, never. Yeah. Not even at one point.
Yeah, you're not like pumping your fists at a scene.
No.
Oh my God, this is great, or anything else like
there
that.
Was no lobby scene type thing.
Right.
There was no highway scene like in the second one.
Right.
There was no, I know a lot of people don't like the third one, but there was the dock scene I thought was great in the third one.
It's a spectacle. It grabs you and it's memorable. It's like, what's memorable from this film?
I can't really think of anything.
The only thing I got right now is some of the body horror because it's so visceral compared to what they did in the past. Yeah. But other than that, nothing really sticks that much.
No, and that's sad because, if you were even trying to match it a little bit, they should have come up to at least a base expectation comparable to the other movies that they've done.
I feel like they were looking at them. They were worried so much about critical response while they were writing the movie that they forgot to make an entertaining movie. Yeah. Right? Like all the let's point out our own ridiculousness and our own plot that we created, that it felt like they just kind of betrayed the story itself, like what they wanted to tell. They didn't have a story they wanted to tell, and they wanted to make sure that they kind of cut off all the critics from any commentary. Mm-hmm. Oh, no, tongue in cheek. We know that this is ridiculous. Look, we're having Neo say it. And it's like, I'm like, that cynicism it's entertaining when it's something stupid like, Ryan Reynolds, Deadpool. That cynicism in Deadpool fits and it's entertaining, right? That cynicism in Matrix doesn't feel like it fits at all.
No, I agree with that. It should have been, no. Okay. It felt too unserious.
Yeah. Well,
because everything else was.
We're just we're rehashing the same.
Yeah, I guess the Matrix is genuine in itself, right? Like there's no fourth wall breaking in, There's no wink. It doesn't feel like there's any winks at the audience.
Right.
And this movie feels like there's winks at the audience constantly.
No. Which sucks you out of it, like you said.
Yeah. Anyway.
Okay. Well, great.
Okay.
This was awesome, guys. This is our first kind of watch party, and thank you for joining us out there, guys. We really appreciate it. Like I said, if you liked it, leave it in the comments. And as always, may you be excellent to each other and live long and prosper from all of us here at Josh's House of Nerd. Have a good night. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching. For more nerdy awesomeness, please like and subscribe and check out our other nerdy videos.